Well, folks, it looks like that time has come. The end of the Big 25. I can't believe I'm saying that. I can't believe we're here. You're here for the last video of the Big 2025. And you know what that means? That means you get to hear me go through Christmas withdrawals, meaning I'm going to miss the Christmas trees, the Christmas lights, and the overall feeling that this season brings all together. But it also means that I'm going to give you guys my top 10 best and worst movies of 2025. And this is often a tradition I like to do because I like to give you guys the cold hard facts of what I thought was the best and what I thought was the worst. And there's actually quite a bit because I was just looking at my AMC A-list subscription, or like my past movies that I've watched this year, and it's quite a lot. So it took me a minute to just narrow this all down for you guys in a way that made sense. And I've got some stuff on this list that's going to really piss you guys off, and that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here to do. That's my number one purpose in life, is to piss all you normies off because you ruin society, and I'm here to point that out. And you may, in fact, call me a bunch of mean names. You know, you like to point out that my name is some Groiper. You're like, you're a Groiper. Your opinion doesn't matter. Or the fact that I'm bitchless and all that stuff. Well, here's the fact. Here's the fact of the matter. I don't care that I'm bitchless. I choose to be bitchless because it's a power move and you motherfuckers can't relate. That's why I do it. And you would never understand that because your normie brains could never comprehend that. Yeah, I don't listen to conservative grifters who tell me to get married at such a young age, have all the kids in the world, all that bullshit. Have more kids you can't afford because Tucker Carlson said so, or that dumbass Benny Johnson said so. I don't fucking think so. I'm simply a man on a mission to give you guys the truth about modern day cinema, whether you like it or not. And fortunately for you assholes, I don't think everything is slop. I don't think everything is nostalgic slop. They don't make them like they used to. Luckily for you guys, I'm able to articulate why some movies work and why others don't. And I'm totally not playing contrarian or anything like that. I would never do that, especially on this channel. Oh wait, I totally would. Nah, but all jokes aside, folks, you're here today because you want to hear my top 10 best and worst movies of the Big 25. But before I do all that, I'm going to need you guys to do this one thing for one last time in the Big 25, and that is to like and subscribe to the channel because you are not going to want to miss out on the certified banger content. And something I'm also going to ask you guys to do for the last time for this year is to hit that hype button that's in the description below or somewhere. It's a newer feature that YouTube has implemented to help boost smaller YouTube channels just like this one. So if you could hit that button, the hype button or the hype feature, that'd be greatly appreciated. But if you don't, well, I guess fair enough, but just go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and comment down below whether you like this video or not. But of course, do all that once the video is over, because I'm not totally insane like that. I do want you guys to make your own opinions, form your own conclusions based on today's content. And if you judge harshly, well, then I'll judge you harshly and accordingly. But no, jokes aside, if you really like today's video, again, like, subscribe, comment down below, and as always, share the video. But with all that being said, folks, it is that time, the time to finally get into today's top 10 best and worst movies of 2025. Now, to preface this video, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through this list in a rapid fire way where I'm going to start off with the worst movies and then end on a high note with the best movies of 2025, because I don't like to leave you guys hanging or on with a sour taste in your mouth. I don't like to do that. I like to end things on a high note and on a positive way, because I'm a very positive person. I'm totally not negative or anything like that. But fair warning going forward with this video, like I mentioned earlier, I know I'm going to piss some people off with a lot of these choices, and that's very intentional because this isn't really meant for normies, but it is at the same time, especially with my first choice of the worst movie of 2025. And my first choice is going to be Sinners. Ooh, yeah. I'm not pulling my punches with this one. I'm only including this movie because, number one, I know it's overrated garbage, and I didn't even watch this movie, so fuck you. Never gonna watch it, nor do I plan on it, because I could just tell by the trailers alone and then by the audience feedback once this movie had released that this movie was no good. I just knew it. I knew in my gut that this movie was going to be ass, or is ass, actually. And speaking of ass, there's apparently a scene in this movie where you got a bunch of black girls twerking and shit. And I saw some people getting emotional over the scene on Twitter, of all places. I saw a bunch of people being like, bro, this one part really brought me to tears. And it's a fucking girl shaking her ass in like the, 1920s or 30s. That whole shit right there, just that brought in everything for me as to why I will never watch this movie, or why anyone should. I don't know why people want to overrate the fuck out of this movie, but here we are in the Big 25 talking about this. So if I already made you mad with my first choice of one of the worst movies of 2025, yeah, feel free to dislike the video, because you don't belong here, actually. And you can go cry on Letterboxd that someone like me already bashed this film without even watching it. And you can go complain to your boyfriend for all I care. But yeah, moving onward and upward, or in this case, downward. Next on my list, and I'm not really going in any particular order, by the way, so just want to point that out, but the next movie on my list is Together. Yeah, this movie reminds me of why I hate millennials in Hollywood. Just a bunch of weirdos that are really trying too hard to be different from anyone else, but they're really not. And this movie is no exception to that, because the story and the characters are very annoying, very weird, and this whole premise is just kind of gross. You got two people merging together into like one entity, and there are a lot of gross scenes. There's a really gross sex scene. I'm not going to go into detail about it, but yeah, this just was not for me. And unfortunately, I waited a long time to see the Shelby Oaks trailer for this movie, and it was a bit underwhelming, not gonna lie. But so are a lot of movies brought to you by Neon Pictures, or just Neon. Alright, next on the list, Now You See Me, Now You Don't. And now you see that I have no interest in these movies going forward, and I honestly never did. I never saw the appeal to the Now You See Me movies, because to me, Now You See Me is just what a dumb person thinks a smart person would do or act. Because the way these movies play out, it's like the main characters, they always come across a lot smarter than they actually are, because they're like, really talented magicians or whatever. They're always outsmarting the villain or the bad guys with these movies. And it's always like one of those where it's like, did these guys ever struggle at any point? And they kind of show you this in this movie, but it's honestly just short-lived, because it's like, wait, I'm honestly starting to like these characters now after like 2 films, but then it's like, oh, when we get to the ending, I hate every single one of you. Y'all are annoying as fuck. And like I said earlier, this is what stupid people think smart people are like. I've just never fucked with these movies. Never have, never will. And yeah, that's all I need to say on that. And it also didn't help that I had an older lady to my left when I was watching this in the cinemas. She kept like hyping up certain moments. I don't know if she thought this was like a Marvel movie or whatever, but I heard an old ass woman, and she wasn't really that old. I'd say like late 40s, early 50s, but I heard a woman near this age range saying, "Let's go, let's go." And I thought I'd seen it all in this, life I'm living right now. I'm not that old, but I'm kind of getting to that point where I'm like, I've seen enough, but I thought I saw everything, and until I heard a grown-ass woman yelling out "Let's go" in the theater when a certain character showed up. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. But next on the list is I Know What You Did Last Summer. I was so disappointed in this movie because it came out near my birthday, dude, and I was so looking forward to like another good slasher movie. And unfortunately, this didn't cut it, because the plot twist in this movie and who the killers were, or one of them were, was completely disheartening and just downright disrespectful to the movies that came before. And that was the big twist, that Ray was the killer. And I'm just thinking, like, at what point would he ever even think to do something like this? And like they try to set it up in like a so-called clever way, but it's like, no, this guy went above and beyond to, save Julie, especially in the second movie, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, where he literally like sailed across the ocean just to get to Julie, or just protect her from the killers. And it's like, there's no way you get to that point, or from that point to this point, where he's like willingly gonna kill people because he feels bad for a girl that he worked with or whatever that worked for him. Just ridiculous. Just a complete character assassination of Ray from the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies. And I feel completely bad for Freddie Prinze Jr. in this movie. You could tell he was phoning it in. There was no way he actually liked the script for this movie, or that he actually willingly came back for this movie, but I guess he did, but who knows. But despite all that, yeah, disappointing movie and horrible cast or new cast, like just straight up dog shit. The lead was awful too. Like, oh my god, she can't act for shit. And the moral of the story being that men need therapy, or men should seek therapy, essentially. But nothing about the female killer that should have gone to therapy at some point in time. But no, it's the grown men that need to seek therapy. That was the main lesson of this movie, and they literally tell you that at the very ending. Just completely tone deaf altogether, and just a horrible addition to this franchise, a beloved franchise, honestly. I really liked I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I still know what you did last summer. Probably one of my favorite slasher films of all time, but this was horrid. I can't believe they did this shit, and especially considering that the second movie is canon, or they acknowledge the events of the second movie, and then Ray is the killer of all people. Yeah, I don't fuck with that, and I don't buy it. Fuck whoever wrote this or directed this. Both y'all suck, and you need to be blacklisted in Hollywood. Now, the next movie on my list to kind of complement the shitty slasher movies of this year was Clown in a Cornfield, or more like Clowns in a Cornfield, because that's the big spoiler with this movie. There's multiple clowns trying to terrorize this small town just to restore some sort of tradition within this little small town where this movie takes place in. And this is a completely degenerate movie. I knew some people were kind of overhyping this, or not even necessarily overhyping it, but giving it way too much credit than it actually deserved. I know those little cucks over at Disgusting Film gave this movie a really good review, and I was one of the few people on Twitter that said this movie sucked ass. It's fucking degenerate as fuck. And the whole premise of the movie is that tradition bad, old people bad. Old people with traditions are bad, and new folks that are coming in with their new ideas or new traditions, such as we like gay shit and all that. Yeah, that's the whole premise of this movie, and the clowns are like an exemplar of why traditionalism is bad in a small town, or just traditionalism in general. But yeah, this movie sucked. Horrible ass slasher film, terrible writing, not very likable characters at all, just very bleh. Now, the next movie that's on my list, and one that was really disappointing, I was really looking forward to, because I even put this movie on my top 10 anticipated movies for 2025, and it wound up being a very disappointing one, and that was 28 Years Later. Yep, I did not like this movie, and the more I think about it, the more it makes me sick. Just didn't leave a good feeling at all with me. I had a horrible feeling in my stomach after watching this movie, and it's just one of those movies, like, the more I think about it, the worse it gets. And just not a very ideal movie to watch over and over. Actually, I wouldn't even watch this movie multiple times. It's not one of those. It's just depressing. You think it's going to be a whole father and son dynamic, and it's not like that at all. Completely sucks. And I'm probably going to skip out on the 28 Years Later Bone Temple. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, just not interested where these movies are going, or just anything about this franchise at all. Just sucks ass, honestly. Disappointing. Now, coming down to our top 3 or bottom 3, however you want to look at it, this next one is Ballerina. This is one of those movies where you have to ask yourself, what was the point in adding this to the John Wick franchise? Like, what are we doing here? What the fuck was the point in this movie? And yeah, just completely pointless. I honestly almost forgot about it until I looked at my Fandango and AMC accounts. This doesn't really leave any sort of impressions, period. It's not even that I really think it's horrible or just, good, or it's not even just like mid. It's forgettable. That's what I'll say. Very forgettable. And honestly, if I'm being honest with you guys, I don't think I recall this movie being in theaters for like more than 2 weeks. Like they brought this shit to digital super fast. Like that's how memorable this shit is. Like I don't think anybody really remembers this other than me, because I'm only mentioning that for the purposes of this video. But yeah, there was really no point in this. I don't really want to watch John Wick movies without John Wick, or anything within this world of John Wick. Without John Wick, it doesn't really work. I don't want to see boss bitch version of John Wick. I don't want to see anything from anyone else. Honestly, I don't really think anyone else is that interesting, other than like maybe the guy that owns the Continental. But other than that, yeah, very forgettable. And I completely forgot about the villains or whatever, the villain subplot where she goes to this town or whatever, and it's just like completely occupied with white people. And I'm like, okay, yeah, very subtle with the anti-white messaging. I'm noticing a trend here with a lot of these movies nowadays. You can't fool me with that one, you fuckheads. Yeah, especially with the dash of kosher salt to that one. Okay, maybe a little too far with that joke, but I think you guys get the point. Actually, let me make a correction here. Now we're down to the bottom 3 because I switched some stuff with my list. I forgot that I switched a certain movie, so I could put it towards my last point to kind of make it more dramatic and very effective in that way. But I know I might be a retard, but hey, at least I caught myself. I caught myself and I corrected myself. All right, now for this one is going to be Christie. Yes, I think most of you already forgot this movie, even though it came out like 2 months ago. But this was like the first movie I saw where it was like one of those AMC unseen screens, or what do they call those? Unseen screen, whatever it's called. It's one of those like mystery movies that you don't know until you get to the movie itself, and then they pretty much tell you like through some like promotional video when you get there that, oh hey, you're here to watch this movie. Christie was one of those movies, and unfortunately, this movie went on way too long. Sydney Sweeney in this one, it's not that she did a terrible job, but there were just times where I thought like the acting was a bit stiff from her, or like I felt like some things were being dragged out. Actually, I'm not even gonna really blame this on Sydney Sweeney herself. I don't really think the material itself was that compelling. I know like the whole premise revolved around domestic abuse and whatnot, but there were just times where it's like I think they want you to feel emotional in some aspects, and it's like I think it kind of falls flat here and there because, number one, this movie drags on way too long. I think it was only 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken, but you could feel the 2 hours, and a lot of the scenes drag out for way too long. A lot of the emotional beats in this movie don't hit as well as they're supposed to, in my honest opinion. But yeah, I'm not really into biopics in general. I think that's part of the reason why I don't really care for this movie or just like any of these kind of movies. I have biopic fatigue, honestly. But yeah, I didn't care for Christie. Just dark as fuck. I know I watch a lot of dark movies, but this one honestly takes the cake. And yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, especially multiple rewatches. And I almost forgot about this movie until I looked at my history with like my AMC subscription and saw that this movie was on there. And it's just one of those movies that I'm like, yeah, kind of forgetful. And honestly, I don't care for biopics, and I don't care for this one especially. So yeah, that's Christie. Now for these last 2 movies, I was honestly switching these 2 up because I was trying to figure out a way to like end the worst section off in a dramatic way, or not even just a dramatic way, but a way that would piss a lot of people off. And for the last 2 spot, or the second to last spot I chose was James Gunn's Superman. Now I already did a video as to why I didn't particularly care for this movie. But yeah, if you want to go watch that video, I'll leave the link somewhere in the video or just somewhere in general. But yeah, this movie sucked. Honestly, mid as fuck. But yeah, not much to it. The fan base surrounding Gunn's DCU, and especially this movie, y'all are insufferable as fuck. And you know who you are. You know who you are. This movie does not get Superman right. James Gunn does not understand this character, and never has, and quite frankly, he never will. He doesn't even know Superman's real name, that being Clark Joseph Kent. So why don't you take that belt to the ass, so-called real DC fans? Alright, now time for the final spot for one of the worst movies of 2025. And this one might shock you, because quite frankly, I thought this was one of those movies that, I didn't think it was terrible by any means, but I also didn't really think it was good. But now that I think about it, and have like honestly reflected on why I think this movie is pretty bad, it's a lot of external factors. Honestly, I'm just kind of being an ass about this one. But for the number 1 spot, or the bottom 1 spot for one of the worst movies of 2025, that is going to go to Chris Stuckman's Shelby Oaks. Honestly thinking more about this movie, the film's story is just like structured in a very bizarre way. And I find it very baffling that it took Chris Stuckman this long to tell this sort of story. Like, I feel like he had enough time to like get certain plot points down. Or honestly, if he did, and like this movie was chopped to pieces, still not a good spot to be in. And quite frankly, this just, the more I think about it, I think the worse it gets. And that's very unfortunate because I didn't really want it to be this way, Chris Stuckman, but unfortunately it is. And something else that's very unfortunate that I can't believe you've like succumbed to are the fucking ad reads, or the gambling ad reads. Like, I honestly can't believe that shit. And I know a lot of people have, discussed that sort of topic on YouTube. I'm not going to go into all that, but the fact that you're this desperate speaks volumes. I'll just say that much. And by that, I mean, I'm guessing the Neon paycheck or the paycheck from Neon didn't quite cut it. So you got to make up ways to, I don't know, pay the bills, I guess. You're not even like going to start on another movie or, write a new script or just, do any storyboards for that matter. No, you got to go do some ad reads for some gambling sites and then like mental health sites or whatever the fuck you're doing now. Yeah, just not a very ideal spot to be in, Chris Stuckman, and you're a hack. I'll just say that much. And Mike Flanagan is also a hack for backing you in terms of your movie. I don't know if he endorses the gambling ad reads. I'm not going to speak on that front, but in terms of like getting more finance to your film or more money for your film, Shelby Oaks, yeah, fuck Mike Flanagan. But yeah, that's going to do it for the worst section of this video, one of the worst movies of 2025. And now it's time to get into the best movies of 2025. And of course, with this section of the video, it's going to be the same format as the worst videos, or not worst videos, worst movies of 2025. Going to be very rapid fire, and we're going to get to the point so we can end this video. But yes, in similar fashion as for the first choice of the good movies of 2025, the way I began with the bad ones, I want to piss people off with that one. I'm going to piss people off with this first choice, and that's going to be Jurassic World Rebirth. Yes, folks, I actually really enjoyed this movie, had a great time with the family watching this movie in a Dolby format, or what do they call it, the Dolby Vision format at AMC, something like that. I saw this in a great format. I thought the movie was very entertaining. Now, I understand the story was kind of non-existent, or like a very compelling story was non-existent, I'll say that much, and maybe compelling characters, but regardless of that, I still enjoyed the shit out of this movie. The only thing I didn't really like was the Mexican family or whatever, the bitch-made family that tagged along later. That wasn't really marketed at all. Like maybe a few times they were, but as like a very important part of the story, not really. But other than that, yeah, this was a great time in the cinemas, and I like this franchise. I'm kind of interested to see where they go from here with these movies, if they're going to make more, which I know they're going to make more, because this one made, almost $1 billion, or it did make $1 billion. Point being, it was very successful at the box office, and I don't see them stopping anytime soon with making these movies. And on top of that, Scarlett Johansson is a box office powerhouse. That bitch is in her bag. She's still getting roles, and she's apparently going to be in the next Batman movie, or the Batman Part 2. So yeah, can't go wrong with ScarJo. And I also wanted to put this as one of my first choices on the good list, because I'm seeing a lot of washed people tell me that this franchise is washed, but it's all the usual suspects, annoying ass people, especially YouTubers that are annoying as fuck that I don't really care for. Yeah, fuck all you. I'm putting this on the good list, and y'all can deal with it. And speaking of deal with it, the next movie on this list is Weapons. Yes, sir, this movie was fantastic. Great horror movie, a better horror movie than Sinners. Yeah, fuck everyone that thinks Sinners was their top movie of 2025. Y'all are lame as fuck, and this movie, Weapons, is a way better horror movie, way more interesting, actually has something good going for it. Y'all can't relate because y'all are broke as fuck, and you all have broke bitch mentality. Can't relate to you motherfuckers, and quite frankly, I never will. But Weapons is one of those movies where I'm pretty much on the edge of my seat the entire time, trying to figure out what the hell is going on in the movie, or the mystery surrounding it, with the kids disappearing late at night, or 2:17 in the morning. Yeah, that was a very interesting premise, and the payoff, quite frankly, actually was satisfying in the ending, very satisfying conclusion. And yeah, this was very memorable. I actually enjoyed my time in the cinemas watching this one. And it's just one of those movies where it's like, hey, if you like what the director did with his last movie, that being Barbarians, or I don't know if that was necessarily his last movie. I'm not going to check because I don't really care to. But if you liked Barbarian, you're going to like this movie, or the weirdness behind it. Not as weird as Barbarian, but still kind of weird, kind of mystic, or supernatural to some degree. Don't really want to spoil anything else if you haven't seen it, but I highly recommend watching Weapons. Definitely better than Sinners, so you can go argue with a brick wall if you disagree. Now, the next movie on this list is another horror movie, a rather unique one, and that was Good Boy. Really liked this movie. I was very surprised that I thought a horror movie that was PG-13 was rather compelling. I like the way the director went about shooting this movie and the amount of time he took to film a movie like this, where the dog is the main star of the show. It's very risky to do something like that, but honestly, I think the risk was well worth it. I had a great time watching this one. It was, like I said, very unique. A lot of people, I don't think, could really pull off what the director did with this movie. I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, so this is one of those movies I really recommend you watch for yourself. And especially if you like dogs, and don't worry, no dog dies in this one, or at least the main dog doesn't die. I'll go ahead and spoil that. The dog doesn't die, doesn't pass away or anything like that, so that's good if you care about that sort of thing. But yeah, very unique movie, especially for a horror movie that's PG-13. There's hardly any really good PG-13 horror movies, or at least very few that can pull off with the rating like that. But the director does a good job with this movie, and yeah, I highly recommend it. Go watch it. Now, for the next movie on this list, this was a movie I was not really thinking about putting on for the best movie of 2025, or one of the best movies of 2025. But this was a movie I initially thought I was going to really hate the shit out of, but I wound up liking it more than I thought I would, and that was Materialists. And honestly, I think I'm putting this on the list because I feel bad for Dasha from Red Scare. She makes an appearance in this movie. If you don't know what happened to her earlier this year, or later this year, I should say, her acting agency dropped her because she featured Nick Fuentes on her podcast Red Scare. And how dare anyone disrespect the Queen, that being Dasha? So you know what? We're here for you, Queen. Don't worry about them. Don't worry about the haters that booted you out of your acting agency. Don't worry about it. We're here for you. But no, all jokes aside, I actually really like this movie. It would be kind of labeled as a romantic comedy, but honestly, I wouldn't really call it that. I think it's more of a romantic drama, if anything, with like occasional humorous moments. That's how I would describe it, because there's a lot of parts that's just unintentionally funny, and I think that's why I like this movie so much, because I think the movie was intended to be a certain way, or maybe some people were to perceive it as a romantic comedy, and it just wasn't that at all. It was very, very unintentionally funny. But despite all that, Dakota Johnson, I don't care how old you are still a bad bitch, and hit me up sometime. No, kidding. You're too old for me. No, but seriously, I like the cast for this movie, surprisingly. I actually like Pedro Pascal's character. Thought he was kind of funny, unintentionally speaking. But there were like a lot of hyperbolic moments that occur in this movie. Just like, you could tell that a female wrote this. And I don't mean that necessarily in a bad way, but it's just how we are as humans. It's our biology. We kind of understand how we write certain things, or how we act out certain things. That's just human nature. I know how women act. I know how men act. It's not that complicated, honestly. And this movie is no exception to that. And something else I'd like to add regarding this movie is this film actually has a very fantastic musical score. It's scored by Daniel Pemberton, a very talented composer. He's done a lot of movies, TV shows, and I think video games. I could be mistaken on that last part. But I thought the score was very well done, and there's some tracks on there that I'll listen to every now and then because it's got a good vibe to it. I would just honestly listen to this music score, the film score, if I were like reading something or just doing something on the side. Very peaceful, very comforting, very romantic, in fact. But no, it's a very great score, a very solid score. But if you're into some rom-coms here and there, or maybe romantic dramas or dramedies, you might like this movie. I can't guarantee that, but it's definitely a film that's it might be a bit niche for some people, but that's Materialist. It's kind of funny unintentionally, and Dakota Johnson's a bad bitch. Pedro Pascal, y'all need to stop hating on. Honestly, just go fucking blame his agent or something that's booking him these roles. And speaking of agent, very quickly, Chris Evans' agent really locked the fuck in after Red 1. I know some people gave Chris Evans shit for Red 1, or just like that movie in general. But I think that guy is locking in. He's in his bag right now, and his agent is certainly locked in. And of course, we have Chris Evans returning as Captain America, Steve Rogers in Avengers Doomsday. So yeah, there's that. And to kind of continue this trend with romantic comedies, or maybe lack thereof, because you can honestly debate that, whether these movies are romantic comedies or romantic dramas. Romantic dramas. This next movie is going to be Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. And I'm honestly only adding this movie to the list because I like Margot Robbie. I think she's still hot, even though, she's become a mom. I think she actually looks better as a mom, or having a kid. Just something about her, facial looks or her facial expressions, she looks more wholesome now. She doesn't look like a complete bitch. No, I'm just kidding. She never really looked like a bitch, but I think being a mom has kind of helped her out with her good looks. But despite all that, I know some of y'all are probably rolling your eyes right now. But no, I thought this movie was very interesting in the sense that Margot Robbie's character is like a hoe who like she's like a 304 that thinks she has Riz but doesn't have Riz, if that makes sense. She's basically a bitch full of herself, and the main character being Colin Farrell's character or whatever, he's trying to overlook that shit, you know, when they're going throughout time or like their different moments of their lives through these like weird doors or whatever. The premise is kind of weird and goofy, but it honestly, what do you really expect from a movie like this, especially a romantic comedy, kind of? But yeah, I actually kind of enjoyed this movie a lot more than I thought I would. Not in the same way I enjoyed Materialist, but yeah, this is one of those movies where it's like, I can kind of fuck with this, honestly. And Margot Robbie, stunning as ever, and Colin Farrell, he's a great actor, so you really can't go wrong with that. And I'm also doing this, or putting this on my list, because I'm just trying to be different right now. I don't think anybody else with their top 10 list or top 5 list, whatever the fuck kind of list they did for this year, I don't think anybody put this movie on their list. So honestly, fuck them. Now, for the last top 5 for the best movies of 2025, and yes, I think I counted that right. We've already listed 5 movies, and we're down to the last 5. For this next one on my list is going to be Mission Impossible, Part 2 or whatever. Final Reckoning, I think is what it's called. I actually don't think this movie was better than Part 1. I thought Part 1 was a lot better altogether. I think it had a much more suspenseful story, and I felt like there was more at stake with Part 1 compared to Part 2. I mean, there was some stuff at stake with Part 2, but yeah, I'm only putting this on the list because I was really looking forward to the final Mission Impossible movie, and I do think for the most part it is a little satisfying. Maybe not super satisfying in the way I'd hoped it would be, but still had a very enjoyable time at the theaters. I saw this in IMAX, and yeah, you could definitely feel how grand this movie was, how suspenseful it was. Maybe not compared to Part 1, Dead Reckoning, but despite all that, I think Tom Cruise, he always does a good job with these movies and how he portrays Ethan Hunt. But yeah, just fantastic movie. Maybe there could have been some things that they could have done a lot better. I will admit there were times I felt like they were kind of phoning in it with like the overall story beats and whatnot. Like you could just tell they were trying to get this shit out the door. But at the same time, the action set pieces were really great. And yeah, I don't really have too much to complain. Maybe they could have ended off on a better way or a higher note. But despite all that, still had a great time at the cinemas, especially watching this in IMAX. Honestly, the way it was intended to be seen. So yeah, that's Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, or whatever the fuck the movie's called. Now, for the next movie, this was a sequel to a movie I really like, and that movie is The Accountant 2. Really enjoyed the first one. I think it's probably one of the best movies I've seen in some time. It's definitely my top 10 favorite movies, because I mean, I don't really have a top 10 favorite because that would change constantly. But The Accountant is just one of those unique experiences that I've had in some recent memory or recent time. I really like the premise of like a guy with, autism or Asperger's, I can't remember what he has, like doing all this cool shit, like doing hitman type missions and like just overcoming all sorts of odds because of how smart he is. With The Accountant 2, I will admit there is a bit of a 180 in terms of like the movie's tone compared to the first one. They take a more humorous approach with this movie, but honestly, I really like it. I think it works for what they go for, because I think they did this sort of tonal switch because they want to show you how this character has evolved, that being Christian Wolf, and how he's trying to blend in with society a lot more compared to how he was in the first movie. I like that sort of juxtaposition compared to the two movies. But yeah, I saw this movie twice in the cinemas, at different theaters, and honestly, I think it's got it's got great action, it's got a good story, and the movie actually knows when to be humorous and let certain scenes breathe out. Very emotional moments, and like they actually know how to mix comedy with like more serious scenes, or just like any scenes that weren't like filled with levity all the time. Like they actually would let a scene breathe out. They would actually like let story beats flow properly in the way that makes sense. So yeah, this definitely it impressed me. It made an impression on me. I don't know if they're going to make another one after this. I don't know where they would go from there, but if they do, looking forward to what they do with that. But if they don't, no sweat. Very enjoyable sequel, very different from the first movie, but that's not entirely bad. I do wish at some points that it was a more serious movie compared to what we got, but at the end of the day, not that bad, and it's not completely eye-rolling when they're like blending two certain tones together. So yeah, that's The Accountant 2. Very much enjoyed it, watched it multiple times, and on to the next one. Now, the next one on this list, I honestly wasn't really expecting to like this movie as much as I did, and I even made a video on how much I was wrong about this movie, and that is the Minecraft movie. Not much else I want to say on this because I've already done a video on this one, but yeah, very memeable experience, a very memorable one in fact, and I can't wait for a movie like this to happen again because I want to see people going crazy, yelling chicken jockey and throwing their fucking popcorn everywhere in the cinemas. That shit is awesome, and I want to keep making theater workers mad because they were annoying as fuck with like how they were like, "Oh, look at the mess they made in this theater room. Oh, wait, all the popcorn's all over the floor and shit. We have to clean all this up." It's like, fuck you. You get paid to do that. Shut the fuck up. And it kind of reminds me of how like annoying service workers are, or like people, not necessarily in retail, but like if you go to like any restaurant, you hear like a bunch of broke bitches complaining about how much they, somebody didn't tip them or whatever, like the service they have to do. It's that kind of energy, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of hope these people keep coming back and just keep messing up shit, just throwing shit everywhere. Like, that shit's kind of fun. Like, why don't you let people have fun for once? But yeah, all jokes aside, kind of. Yeah, it was a very memorable experience, and I can't wait for the Minecraft movie part 2, or just Minecraft movie 2. Now, the second to last choice on my list is going to be Roofman with Channing Tatum. This movie, actually very funny and like very emotional at times, and I don't mean that in a gay way. I mean in the sense that like they hit certain emotional beats home in a lot of areas, and the premise for this movie is very unique, and it's actually based on a true story. And I was honestly going to write this movie off as like saw it once, didn't really care, but honestly, the more I think about it, the more I appreciate what this movie set out to do. And the fact that this was based on a true story is kind of laughable at best, but yeah, very interesting premise. I didn't really think it would really get anywhere, that I would really find it that funny, but quite frankly, I did find it very funny, and honestly, I think I might watch it again at some point. Now, for the final and best movie of 2025 is going to be, and yes, I know this one is definitely going to piss some people off because you're going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? That movie was mid as fuck. They didn't do these characters justice. And that movie is Fantastic Four: First Steps. Yeah, I went there. I'm including this as my number one, a top choice of 2025. And honestly, I'm just kind of being an ass with this one again, as I always am. But I'm only putting this at the top one spot, or just the top spot, because I didn't actually do a review for this movie, and I meant to. I know I made a Fantastic Four video over that animated show back in the day, but I never did a review for First Steps. And I also kind of regret not doing that because I made a very long video for Superman, and I didn't even really like that movie, but I didn't care to do a video for how I liked Fantastic Four: First Steps. And I'm kind of disappointed in myself for not doing that. But here we are at the top one spot, or the top spot for my best movie of 2025 is Fantastic Four: First Steps. And honestly, I really enjoyed the shit out of this movie. Saw it twice in theaters, and I actually really liked the cast. Kind of. Pedro Pascal might be the weakest choice out of the four, or like in terms of like who they picked to portray these characters. It's not that I thought he was bad per se, but I kind of like everyone else, I have a hard time seeing him as the Reed Richards. But despite all that, I like the film's story for the most part. I do think there are some like underwhelming character arcs, or like lack thereof. Like Ben Grimm, for example. They didn't really give him a whole lot to do, and they don't really do much with his character progression. But everybody else, yeah, actually really liked, and especially Johnny Storm. They actually make him very useful. He's not a bumbling idiot like how he is portrayed in some iterations of the Fantastic Four. I'm not faulting the other portrayals, like the Chris Evans version of the Human Torch, because they were very, very much playing into the whole like ladies' man approach. Like, he's a huge ladies' man. He's very charming and witty. But this version of Johnny Storm, played by the guy that plays Eddie Munson in Stranger Things, he plays a completely different version of Johnny Storm, and he's more of like a, the cool uncle that's going to do everything to protect his family. And then Sue Storm, played by Vanessa Kirby, dude, she is a total bad bitch. I don't care how old she is. I don't care if she just had a baby at like 40 years old. She can still get it. I don't care what anyone says. And I saw like this micro expression in the movie where like Reed Richards says something like, "Sue, you figured it out. You solved this." And she gives him like this like wholesome look of like almost disbelief, yet like, "I love the shit out of you" kind of look. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, damn, that look just, it tells me everything I need to know. This bitch can get it. And the villain for this movie being Galactus and the female Silver Surfer, kind of. I actually really like Galactus in this movie. I thought he was really grand and menacing. I like this iteration of the character. They actually did him justice in this movie, and he's got some really cool lines in the movie. Just overall, very solid movie, very solid premise, and the themes are really good. The importance of the family unit, especially with a group like the Fantastic Four that's been kind of done dirty in the past by other interpretations. I'm not going to necessarily refer to the first two Fox movies, but like the one from 2015, yeah, just not it. And the way they've like kind of treated the Fantastic Four by like killing them off here and there with like certain iterations like Multiverse of Madness and Deadpool and Wolverine, and then like probably some other versions here and there. But I actually do like this version of the Fantastic Four, and I can't wait to see them return for Avengers Doomsday. I hope they get to do more, or especially like Thing and Reed Richards. But yeah, very solid movie, very enjoyable. I don't care what anyone says. I still enjoy the shit out of it. I'd watch it again on Disney Plus. Not to sound like a bitch-made shill, but that's how much I enjoyed it. I really don't care what you have to say to me. If you didn't like it, cool. But if you did, you're based as fuck, and you know what's up. But yeah, guys, that's my top 10 best and worst movies of 2025. I can't believe it's all over. This shit went by way too fast for my taste, and I'm sure next year is going to be no different, that being 2026, and hopefully 2026 will be a much better year. But you know what, as time progresses on and it moves fast like it always does, I'm probably going to be saying the same thing that I'm going to say, I hope 2027 is much better than 2026. This year sucked, blah, blah, blah. You're going to hear other people say that shit too, but I am really hoping for the best next year, and I hope we get better movies, better video games, better TV shows. I think 2026 will be peak, okay? You're going to hear it from here first. You're going to hear it from me first, okay? I'm going to be vindicated when I say that, as I always am. I'm always vindicated when I say my shit or speak my shit. You guys know that. That's why you're subscribed to the channel. That's why you like the videos, because you're here for just the certified banger content. You are here for the truth, because the truth is on our side. All right, now enough of the gay theatrics. Let's get serious for a second. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in to this video, hearing my best and worst movies of 2025, and I want to hear from you guys now. I'm going to leave it to you now. I've talked way too long. This video is like 40 minutes long now. I didn't mean to go that long with this video, but here we are. But I want to hear from you guys. What did you think of this video, and what did you find to be the best or worst movies of 2025? And do you think 2025 was a good year for movies? I want to hear from y'all, and if you really like this video, go ahead, drop a like, and subscribe to the channel, because you are not going to miss out on this certified banger content, especially leading into next year, because we're going to go up from here. We're going to go nowhere but up. We have nowhere else to go but up. But no, all jokes aside, you guys, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this and to support this channel. It really means the world to me, and I just want to end it off by saying I wish you guys a happy new year. Yes, even to the people that hate my guts or just view me as their adversary, I wish you guys the best. I really do. And especially to my supporters, I wish you guys the very best. And thank you for tuning in to this certified banger content, because you guys would not have it any other way. But that's going to do it for today's video, and that being the last video of 2025. Can't believe I'm already saying that, but here we are. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Really appreciate all you guys do for me and what I do for you guys. We're going to keep making these videos. We're going to keep getting better with these videos, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye for now.